has an existing strength of about 1,500 students of BBA program and an alumni association of over 15,000. The college intends to impart quality education and all-round personality developments of the students. And we have amongst us a multifaceted personality here today, Miss Chabi Prabhakar. Although I share the same name with her, but there's nothing common between us except that we have both been ex-bankers some time before. Ms. Chabi Prabhakar is a senior financial services professional with over 20 years of extensive experience in NRI banking, wealth management, and private banking with premium organizations such as Citibank, Society Generale Private Banking, American Express Bank, Standard Chartered Private Bank, and Axis Bank. She has a track record of building new businesses, creating and leading large, diversified multinational teams. Chabi is now a woman entrepreneur and conceptualized global Indian solutions. This is India's first integrated solutions provider for the 31 million Pravasi Bhartiyas or NRIs who are seeking assistance in managing their assets in India and require a trusted partner, which they see in her. She has won the prestigious DMA All India Women Entrepreneur Award 2020. So we welcome you here, ma'am, on behalf of all students, faculty members, and staff. It's my privilege to welcome you here. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Chavi. It's such a pleasure, when I meet someone with my name, which is not very, it's very rare actually. So thank you very much. It's my privilege to be here, and addressing the students of your prestigious institution. I have known about it. And it's actually an honor that I'm here, and if I can talk about the current situation, anyone has any questions, any queries, anything, I'm here for the next 40-45 minutes to address the same. Firstly, I would like to welcome all the participants who have actually taken out time. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. And I always like to believe that, there is so much time that has been given to us. So I hope we are utilizing our time very productively to learn new things and, make the most of this. So if I may, Sugandha, if you will please like to start the presentation. It was very interesting when I was told that, what's happening to the economy pre-COVID and post-COVID. I think COVID is the most talked about word in the recent times. The world seemingly has changed. And if we can just change the slide, please. This world seemingly has changed, and maybe forever. The new normal, as it's being called, is what is now what we are looking at in the future. A lot of things, the way we knew it, the way we had lived life, the way we worked, the way we studied, everything seems to have changed. Looking at the numbers, the countries affected, which is very huge as we speak, over 37 lakhs almost people affected by coronavirus. We have lost over 2.5 lakh people, which is, I would say it is more than a pandemic as it has been called. It's actually like a war situation where the coronavirus can be, actually it's equivalent of the enemy, so the virus is like an enemy which has hit the world and completely changed the world forever. So what is this global impact that we are seeing on the economy? Of course, IMF has declared that, they have declared a global recession. The entire economies in, globally across geographies, seem to have come to a standstill. There is such a huge disruption which has happened. The financial impact of this, of course, we are all seeing. The complete lockdown situation which is existing, which is getting extended, as of today, and maybe even in the very near future, maybe we do not have, any kind of, I would say, cure for the virus. The entire resources everywhere in the world are at home. Slowly, of course, the situation, they are trying to partially open up the lockdown, but definitely there are millions and millions of people who've lost jobs. There are companies which have shut down, manufacturing units which are actually producing essential and non-essential goods. They have shut. The consumer confidence is shaken, because when there are these times which are, unforeseen times, already we had been seeing a reduction in consumption pattern. The consumer behavior had been changing, because even pre-COVID, already there was a global slowdown which we had been experiencing for the last 1.5 years. In fact, which was also reflective in the way, our GDP growth, which was, actually forecast to be, at a certain level, but the GDP growth was sub 5% last year. And so we will see that as we go by. So there is a huge supply chain issues which have happened because of this. There is a complete, unemployment, the workforce, which doesn't know the productivity, because there is a lockdown situation. Productivity is come almost to a standstill. There is a huge impact also, because there was no one who was in a state of preparedness. The contingency plan was not in place, and therefore we have been caught unawares. And we will see what is that impact which we are seeing on various sectors. So the most affected sectors, which we all are obviously seeing, are transportation. Aviation has gone back to probably, have gone back to the 2015-16 levels. The way the things are going to pan out, can we please change the slides? The way the things are panning out, we are seeing that any luxury-oriented industry or sector, be it airlines, be it any kind of leisure activities like restaurants and hotels, and so all of it, tourism has completely come to a standstill. Oil prices, which were already, facing a crisis, have actually come down to, completely bottom. It has bottomed out in a sense. But yes, what happens during any kind of crisis, whenever there is a crisis or whenever there is fear, there is also an opportunity or opportunities which come up. So definitely certain sectors. So this is actually what very famous, or one of the most famous investors, Warren Buffett, has quoted. So I was just quoting him. So some of these industries and sectors, like obviously we know for a fact that medical, anything to do associated with medical care, pharmaceutical companies, e-commerce is going to see a huge, I think it's going to be the way forward. Digital, digitization, which we were already working towards digitization, it is going to see a huge upside, because everything right from what we are doing today, erstwhile we would have had a classroom session. Today we are digitally connected. Insurance companies and other related. So definitely there will be some which are least impacted and which actually may benefit from this pandemic. So the economic and the economic data which is being still studied and being worked on, well, obviously we will see more and more detailed analysis and studies of the same. But the last 3 months definitely it has created a complete shock, globally. Of course, it was China centric, and because China has been in the past so many years been the hub, outsourcing hub, manufacturing hub, has been, a huge economy which has impacted a lot of other economies. So therefore, there is a complete shock. So there is a demand, of course, which, there is absolutely, it's undergoing a complete, slowdown. And also because China was such a key market for everything, the supply chain disruption which has happened is actually impacting it, even I would say in a very bad manner, in a very, very highly impactful manner. So which has impacted negatively the entire chain. So let's see what this is going to bring. Um, so we are seeing that a complete lockdown situation has actually caused shutdowns of factories. There is obviously, labor, as we have been listening and seeing in the news. Everyone wants to go back home. So the huge migrant labor, which is obviously, just not wanting to be there at their workplace or at the city where they are working. So this is causing so much of disruption. Obviously cash flows are in no one was in a state of preparedness. There was no contingency plan, so therefore the cash reserves have not been planned in a manner for so that we could actually face a contingency of this kind. Spending patterns have completely changed. Today, we are not talking any kind of luxury. We are only talking basic things. We are only looking forward to, no, none of us, we are all homebound. So, there is nowhere to go, nowhere to spend money. So, so this entire thing, the demand. So therefore, the demand of many goods is just going to probably irreversibly change. There is a loss in income. Obviously, people are losing jobs. At the last count, over 25 million people have, in the US itself, have filed for unemployment, for government benefits. So the sentiment all around is very, very is currently very challenging. All the countries have revised their GDP forecasts because of this, what I just talked of. Even as India, we were looking forward to GDP growth, and last count also we talked of little less than 2%. But as we speak today, are we looking at a 0% growth, or can it, or will it be negative? So that is what is being worked out. So this itself, when you look at this, it kind of talks about recession, and the recession impact, of course, is not a very short-term impact. It would be a prolonged impact also. So some of this I've talked of. Maybe we won't go deep into the details about, definitely we are seeing this impacting, every scenario, and in a very, very deep impact it is having. So let's look. So these are some of the, things which, of course, we are all believing there will be a recovery. There we are looking at, is it an opportunity for India? Especially when you think China, and you think the sentiment against China per se, as the pandemic started from there. uh, there already talks of, Japan has already declared that they will like to move out of China. So that's throwing up an opportunity for countries like India, Mexico, Vietnam, etc. So will it actually, maybe in the near future, will it actually become an opportunity for us, is to be seen. So I just briefly, I thought that, many of you, you're very young, and, would not really be aware, but, 2008, so that was, about 12 odd years back. There was this huge global financial crisis. So it's very interesting that, although that had also caused a huge, challenging, environment, the sentiments, with all economies again, crashing, and it actually brought down the entire financial markets. And but yes, this time around, because it also involves a human suffering, so it's taken on, so it cannot be just that, you're just addressing a financial crisis through some monetary policies and some changes, which you create in the environment, the regulatory environment, etc. This time it's because it is actually a pandemic, and has already penetrated globally. So this is actually, vastly different from that time, and a bigger crisis actually, and is still, 2-3 months down the line. Also, we are not actually in control of the situation. So the economy, as I just mentioned, was already in a limbo, and it was already in a slowdown phase, and measures were already being taken. So as we all are aware, in the past, two budgets and post budgets, there were certain measures which even our government, actually came up with, to ensure that, the consumption is driven down, it increases. There were many benefits are given. Actually, these are already been implemented, to ensure that there is offtake of loans by retail, by retail investors, by MSMEs, the small little business establishments, etc. And also they introduced a lot of changes in the processes, in the way the regulatory environment has been in the country. A lot of changes have been implemented, so that even for the foreign portfolio investors, FPI investments, we are able to actually attract a lot of, overseas investments to come to India. So these are some of the, the measures, the parameters, which already, as you will see, they were already, a lot of them were in the red. And let's just see ahead. So as you look at this, this gives you a clearer picture on, where we were in FY 19, 20, and what has been forecast. Of course, a lot of this forecast is going to change. So of course, inflation, etc., obviously will benefit from the current situation. So we may actually see the inflation soften, and already the CAD, the current account deficit, etc., is likely to reduce. Also, because India is a very large importer, in fact, the third largest importer of oil, the reduction and this steep fall in the prices is hugely going to benefit us, and is going to create reserves, to the tune of $50 billion and above. So let's see how this, so this crisis world over, in oil prices, especially in the Middle East, countries which are dependent on oil as their main source of revenue. So of course it will be a huge crisis there, but for us this could actually result in creating reserves for us, which will benefit all of us. The dollar rupee movement has been a cause of concern in the past. We have seen the dollar breaching the 70 rupee mark, and most of even this year, today as we speak, the dollar is hovering at 74, 75. And so even for the forecast, I mean, obviously looking at the current situation, let us see whether we are able to, so this the dollar, the dollar doing well and vis-a-vis the rupee. So let us see, in how it pans out in the very near future. So are we able to actually hold the rupee and bring it back to a 70 rupee kind of a level, is to be watched. So so we'll just see. So there's just some data. It actually brings highlights the fact that the cash reserves are just not there. So almost you could say 100% of the companies, and this is not just India, it is actually globally, where there would be very few companies who are actually prepared and can actually sustain or have the cash reserves anything longer than, I would say 2 quarters to 3 quarters. And so that is something which needs to be addressed, and with obviously the government intervention, where we should be seeing a lot of stimulus coming in. Already certain stimuli have been already announced, and I think we should keep seeing that as we move forward. So there's just some data. So I just thought that, it actually kind of reaffirms, so we, health is going to be, so in fact, I think the way healthcare is being looked at is, so disease is being looked at as the biggest enemy globally today. So to address health issues, safety issues is going to be the top focus and priority of every government. So that's how the change is happening. We deal a lot very closely with NRIs, and I just thought to, to put things in perspective. There's so much of talk, there's been so much of focus in trying to get in, the foreign portfolio investments, to get in people of Indian origin to invest in India, in their home country. So we are also seeing that this pandemic has actually, because we keep talking to NRIs and also returning NRIs, a lot of NRIs are currently actually kind of, reevaluating things and trying to figure out whether they would like to move back. People in the Middle East. So this, if you look at the Indian diaspora, it's pretty much spread, and it's one of the largest diaspora that exists today globally. We have over 31 million, actually close to 32 million NRIs or people of Indian origin, or overseas citizens of India, as they are called. So, and it is very well spread out. So say the Middle East, has over 10 million NRIs. And with the current situation, with people losing their jobs, with the oil prices completely tanking, you're bottoming out, so that's going to actually probably start an exodus of NRIs back home. So what does it mean for India? So that's where there could be an opportunity. It could be a lot of changes. UK, US, so say US and Canada, between the two would have over 7.5 million NRIs. Canada is, increasing. I think the population is increasing at a very fast pace with a lot of students and, people migrating out there. South Africa, we have the APAC, Asia Pacific, which is your Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, which also huge population. And we have seen that, of course, New Zealand. So there is nowhere, I would say, today our Indian diaspora. So the way the pandemic has hit globally, so all these places which we are seeing here, these regions are hugely impacted. And so let us see what that means for the non-resident Indian or the Pravasi Bhartiyas, as they are called, the community. So how is this very important, as we are talking economy, when you have this large community of people who in any case have always contributed. So just to give a perspective, India is the highest recipient of overseas remittances globally. So last year, we have actually clocked remittances coming into India close to $83 billion, an all-time high. And it is the highest globally for any community. So the NRIs already have been, sending back money home. So if you talk from where we were actually looking at a 60 billion kind of number, 60, 62, 3, 4 years back, to what we have been seeing, and year on year it's been increasing. So looking at, of course, it has been caused by the rupee devaluation. The rupee, the way it is poised, is obviously attracting a lot of NRIs because in their home countries, the avenues of investment are very few. Second, they are all, supporting families back home. So in any case, traditionally, historically, they have been remitting money back home. Then also we have seen that NRIs, they contribute over 8 to 10%. And in fact, that number in real estate investments, in residential real estate, commercial real estate, and so this portion or this proportion of investments which in the NRIs do in the Indian real estate can actually help probably drive the Indian real estate markets, again, from the lows that we are seeing to, maybe, reduce the challenge. So these are also vis-a-vis resident Indians, a rich community. So probably this entire, I would say, the regulatory environment, the compliance environment in India, the implementation of various regulations in India has actually boosted the confidence of NRIs and people of Indian origin to look at India as an investment. They have been investing for years into the Indian capital markets. So you see a lot of NRIs through their NRI accounts in India are investing hugely in the Indian markets, be it debt, equity, and now the way we are seeing gold, the way gold, which had lost its sheen, has become one of the best performers in the recent past. So of course, an allocation to gold, so let's see how, so this is actually very significant looking at the current